Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to do a trailer breakdown for the first, I guess technically the first trailer for Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, which is coming directly to theaters in November of this year, November 24th to be exact. Now, there's been a lot of backlash to this, not nearly as much as the Lance Reddick thing. That is whatever they're doing over at Netflix. I don't know what the fuck that is, but that ain't Resident Evil. The I'm not even that big of a fan, and I know that isn't. But this seems like they were toting this as it was going to be a lot closer to the games, and it looks like we're also following the stories from both Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. Now this is gonna be a little bit of a weird breakdown for me because I'm breaking down the international trailer, and the reason why I'm doing that is because there were obviously whenever a movie studio releases trailers, they release a domestic trailer which goes directly to the United States audiences and most of North America, I believe. And then the international trailer is for most major international markets, Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific, that type of thing. South American markets, I believe, as well. And the trail usually when they release those trailers, they're not drastically different. Usually, what they'll do is it'll follow kind of the same through line. It'll have a lot of the same scenes, but they'll cut some stuff from the domestic trailer and then add in some extra scenes into the international trailer that they think will hit better with various international audiences. And usually those scenes are not very long at all, And same thing with like TV spots and things like that. A lot of the times they'll add little tiny snippet things in, and it won't really change all that much. But in this case, the trailers that were released, the one for the North America and the one for the international trailer, are drastically different than one another. To the point where I consider them two different trailers, and it feels almost like they're following two different movies. Now I'm gonna make some points about the domestic trailer when I get to those points in the international trailer, and I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that because I'm gonna be reviewing the international trailer, but I'm gonna mention stuff from the domestic trailer to compare and contrast and show you why these two trailers are extremely different. Now, as for my opinion on the trailer, I'll save that for the end. But let's go into the first part. So the first part of this trailer, comparing it to the first part of the domestic trailer, is very, very different. The first part of this trailer shows the actress is playing Claire Redfield. She's riding in this truck, this tanker truck, and she's going towards Raccoon City. Now, we have a few different spliced in scenes when we go to the regular domestic trailer, which basically has a similar scene where she's arriving in Raccoon City, but instead of showing her inside, hitchhiking inside of this tanker truck, instead they show her riding on a motorcycle with a motorcycle helmet on and stuff. And we're led to believe through the edits in that trailer that this is how she gets to Raccoon City when in reality she's hitchhiking. So that's weird. But they do have one similar point in it, and that is the when they show the Raccoon City sign, the sign that actually says Raccoon City has the umbrella symbol and all that shit. And underneath it, they have some text that comes up on the screen that says September 30th, 1998. Now, Resident Evil 2 is supposed to take place on September 29th and September 30th of 1998. So Claire getting to Raccoon City and all that stuff that involves Resident Evil 2, and I believe that was Resident Evil 2. Again, people will correct me to no end on this thing, and I'm not an immediate expert. I just did enough research so that I could talk about certain things regarding dates and times and a few other things. So based on when that game is supposed to take place over those 2 days. So she's showing up roughly at the same time frame. Now the thing is why would you have that text on the screen? There would really be no reason to have that text if you've already established in an early, because again, I'm assuming that's not the opening scene of the movie. I don't think it is. And if it is, then I guess it would make sense. But I don't think it is. And if it isn't, then why would you need to specify that it is this specific date in this specific year if you have some kind of an establishment beforehand? And if you're establishing it after the very beginning, that's kind of weird. But if that's the case, I kind of think that this trailer is jumping between time frames. So or this show is going to be jumping in between time frames. And I know that was a big criticism that I saw people making in the comments, was that Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, there was a time gap. There was a several month time gap, because Resident Evil 1 is supposed to take place over, I believe it's July 24th and July 25th, 1998. So roughly about 2.5 months earlier. Um, so well, maybe not. That might even be like 6 weeks, maybe. But basically, I think that text that pops up on screen is a good indicator that they might be jumping in between time frames. So we're going to be jumping in between the Resident Evil 1 story and the Resident Evil 2 story. Now, as for that, for the most of the trailer, you get to see the STARS team inside the mansion and stuff like that. When it cuts to from in the international trailer, when it cuts after it gets past the beginning point, I just wanted to highlight that point about the text because it was interesting. But once you get past that point, then you have an intersplicing of a lot of different scenes involving basically the consequences of what happens. So the tanker truck driver is still driving forward, and he's making some small talk with Claire, and then eventually he hits this woman who is out on the road, who's infected, quote unquote, with the virus. So she gets hit by that. He gets out, and this would probably also explain how he gets bitten, because there is a scene later on where we see the tanker truck flip over in front of RPD headquarters, Raccoon City Police Department, and it jackknifes and flips on its side, and it's the same guy, but he's infected at this point. So we kind of see how that happens, I guess, is through these early events. We also see a dog licking up some of the blood from the road, which is to indicate that is going to be our zombie dog later on. So again, that's kind of giving a bit away. I think that both of those things could have been left alone, and you would have probably been fine. But we basically go through that kind of early scene there. So when we get further in and we get past that initial bit there with the establishing, then it starts going into a lot of quick cuts. So we kind of get a little bit of a mashing of the two stories, because again, in the domestic trailer, they very much try to separate those scenes a lot, where they're not interconnected to the point where you could think that maybe they were all taking place in the same area. Because the STARS team, which is the team that's going into the mansion, which is Wesker, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and I forget the fourth guy. And basically, they're going in there to go find something. I can't actually remember what the reasoning was. I think in the first game they were being chased and they went in there, but I can't remember exactly. But the thing is that the mansion plot line is their kind of thing. So we also did not get another one of those time cards, unfortunately, throughout the rest of the trailer, so I couldn't compare and contrast if they gave us two different time frames. But again, that still feels like what it's like, because it feels like after a point we do see some scenes early on in the trailer where Chris and Claire are both in the same room and talking to each other. And somebody else mentioned it was also like, oh, she had to convince Chris that Umbrella was evil. Like that is pretty stupid. But she's talking with him. She shows him a video. In the domestic trailer, she shows him a videotape of somebody sending her a video from inside Raccoon City, basically comparing it to like Chernobyl, and people are getting sick and stuff like that. It kind of gives a little bit of a background. Again, that's not in the international trailer, but I don't feel that it really adds too much, because we can kind of understand, like, yeah, there's zombies happening. And instead, we do get actually a lot of zombie shots. We get some shots of Leon. We get some shots who again comes up in his own scenes. I don't think we ever really see him with any of the other actors other than Claire. But we see that. We see a few other things. We see at one point Chris gets picked up in this kind of ambulance. This is actually the stinger at the end, technically, but he gets picked. It's in different places in both of the trailers. So he gets picked up in what looks like kind of like an ambulance, because the guy's wearing an EMT uniform, and he's infected. So he starts crawling towards him, and he's bleeding out of his mouth. And Chris has like a lighter, a Zippo lighter that he's using. So it was definitely a lot creepier the way they put it in the international trailer as opposed to the domestic. But it wasn't too bad. Now the other thing is we also have like scenes of a helicopter crash in there. There's a lot of like interconnected action scenes basically that they kind of just string together for a while. We also get to see the doctor, the one who made the T virus basically. I believe his name is Birkin. And he is played by Neil McDonough, who's one of those guys like, oh, I've seen him. People have seen him in random things, but nobody knows his name. But basically, yeah, he's playing the doctor, and he does confront people at a point. They find like some videos and stuff of his experiments and things like that. Um, so that wasn't too. It doesn't give away too much. It gives away kind of the beginning of it a little bit if you've seen both trailers, and you can kind of piece it together. So I can't really fault that on any single trailer. Although again, this is very strange to have such drastic differences in trailers. Um, Now the other thing too is that the effects in the trailer. Now there's a few effects that are really really bad. They don't look good at all. The zombie dog, does not look good at all. And the other thing is that the creature near the end, I can't remember what it's called, the big ass thing at the end that they see like crawling through the ceiling. I don't know what it's called, but that also looks kind of weird to me. Although it might just be the angle and the lighting on the effect. But there are other effects in there that I didn't think looked that bad. The helicopter crash looked pretty good. The liquor actually looked pretty good, especially with the close-up shot. The close-up shots of that actually looked really nice. I like that. The zombie effects were less at times. Like once the people have gone like full zombie at a point, you can kind of tell. And once they've gone full zombie, that makeup is actually pretty good. But there's also some kind of weird makeup where it's just like, oh, it looks like you have like lost hair or something like that. Like the woman that, actually, no, sorry, that's in the domestic trailer. The woman that collapses on Claire. I don't think they have that in the other trailer, in the international one. But we go through that, and then really that's pretty much about it. I mean, they don't give away too much, like I said, so it doesn't technically commit the cardinal sin of trailers, even though kind of both of them together do. As far as the acting goes, passable for what it has to be. I didn't see anything that wowed me, obviously. If you see acting that really wows you in a trailer, actually, that's probably a really good sign that you're probably looking at a good movie, or they stuck the only good scene in the trailer. And like I said, the acting was okay. Nothing outstanding. They had a couple of lines in there that did remind me of some cheesy '90s movies. Like I said, the effects sometimes bad, sometimes good. And really, that's all I can say about it. I don't really dislike the trailer. I think that it's okay. Oh, sorry. There is one thing that I do have to mention: the music. Now, the music in the international trailer is just an original soundtrack, and it sounds actually kind of creepy, and it works a lot better with that trailer. Now, when you go to the domestic trailer has a weird, like, edited, like, kind of like sound tweaked version of "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes. Um, and it doesn't really work well with the trailer. It's kind of weird. I feel like if you're gonna do something like that, it should go to like like an action movie. Maybe if you're gonna do like that kind of subtle actiony thing, and it kind of does that, and it makes the movie have like not a very creepy feel. But if you look at the international trailer, the feeling is a lot more creepy because the music actually works. Um, so I'm not sure which tone this movie is actually going to have. I hope it's the international tone as opposed to the domestic trailer's tone. But only time is going to tell on that. But I just wanted to mention that one point because the music in both trailers was drastically different, and that did make a difference when watching the trailer. But like I said, that's just kind of my thing. I'm going to link both of the trailers below so you guys can compare and contrast if you want. But I want to know what your opinion is. I know a lot of people really don't like this project. They don't like either of the two projects going on. I could definitely understand that with the Lance Reddick one. That is that is not going to be great. But and then this one as well. But I want to know what your opinion is. Are you excited for this movie? Are you not excited for this movie? Did you like the domestic trailer, or did you like the international trailer? If you've seen both, which one would you prefer over the other? Put your thoughts in the comments below as usual. I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?